So I just got done watching the Black Clover movie, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So before getting into it, I should say that obviously I'm going to be talking about the movie. It's going to have spoilers in it, and just to prime your expectations for going into this, this isn't going to be so much of a review as it's going to be more of like a melting pot of my thoughts. You can kind of think about it more like, oh, we just left a movie theater, and it's like we're just friends talking about it. We're just kind of being bros, just boys being boys, discussing the movie, having fun. It's going to have a little bit of discussion with elements of review. It's going to have some stuff that I like, some stuff that I dislike, and I'm going to have a moment where I talk a little bit about like some deeper analysis type stuff. Not like too deep, but a little bit of analysis. I'll get a little philosophical with it. And overall, it's just going to be like stuff that's on my mind after watching the movie. So let's just hop right into it. And to start us off, I wanted to talk about the actual release of the movie. So I had absolutely zero idea this was coming out. I just hop on Facebook, and yeah, I know I'm a millennial, I still use Facebook or whatever. But I hop on there, and I see people talking about the movie on Netflix, and I'm like, what? Like, is this some kind of joke? I thought that I was being pranked at first, but sure enough, I hop on over to Netflix, and I see it right on the front page, in both Japanese and English, so it's both subbed and dubbed, which is awesome. You get best of both worlds. So one of my first thoughts after watching the movie, and this is something that I'm sure a lot of other people can relate to as well, is that I am actually caught up with the manga, and don't worry, I'm not going to say anything about the manga. This is going to be about like the movie and like anime current events, but I won't spoil anything for anyone. But having been caught up, and I'm sure other people feel the same way, it's really hard to unsee things you've already seen and to unknow things that you already know. So I'm going to be getting into like the plot of the movie a little bit later, but just before that, it takes place somewhere after the elf invasion arc, but before the stuff that happens with the Spade Kingdom. So Asta still has his arm. He hasn't done any kind of like Devil Union stuff. I don't remember, why did I just say that? Oh yeah, that's why. So it takes place somewhere after the Elf Invasion arc, but before the stuff that happens with the Spade Kingdom. So Asa still has his arm. There hasn't been any kind of like Devil Union things happening. And yeah, then there's like a whole bunch of manga spoiler stuff that I'm not going to get into that just hasn't happened yet. So it's really rough knowing things that have already happened, and even stuff that already happened in the anime that just haven't happened yet. It's really tough to just like rewind your mind back to that like previous element of the show, especially since like other characters haven't got power ups or upgrades that they've already had, because it does have like a lot of those power fantasy elements in the show. So you kind of have to like reset yourself to, okay, this was in this time period of the show. You know what I mean? And I don't think that takes away from the experience a whole lot. I think, like, as its own standalone film, it was pretty fantastic. Like, right off the gate, I'll just say it. Like, I really enjoyed it. There are some parts of it that maybe I didn't like quite as much, which I'll get into later. Mainly, like, the dialogue and some character elements, but we'll get into that later. But overall, I'd say it was a great movie. And it really hypes me up for the next installation, whatever that may be coming out, season 3, whatever next season is going to be releasing. Like, I really hope it's soon. I hope that they're doing a really good job on it. And if this movie is any kind of testament to the level of detail they might be putting into the next installation, I'm really looking forward to it. So just really quick, before actually getting into my thoughts, I'm just going to do a very fast plot synopsis. So like I said, the movie takes place somewhere after the Elf Invasion, but before all the Spade Kingdom stuff, and when other devils start getting involved. It features a previous wizard king who was sealed by Julius. He ends up getting unsealed after the events of the Elf Invasion arc, and then he revives 3 other wizard kings, and then they just go on a whole hostile takeover of the Clover Kingdom. It's very aggressive, and they want to like help, but their version of helping also involves genocide. It's very misguided, so they're the bad guys, very clearly. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about some stuff that I really like. This is the good stuff. For one, the movie picks up like almost immediately. It really doesn't waste your time at all. I feel like having some exposition probably could be good, just to keep you up to date on what's going to be happening in the plot. I think there's like a really fine-tuned sweet spot that you might expect from a movie as far as like explaining the details of the plot, but also showing you the action and not like babying you, letting you figure stuff out for yourself. And this doesn't really have like any exposition at all. It starts with action sequencing, ends up with more action sequencing. There's a whole lull in the movie where they just have motivational speeches, which usually it would kind of drag at a point like that, you know, as you're opening up for your next part of the movie. But no, in that one it just like increases and escalates the level of intensity that you're going to be getting into. And then it goes right into, you guessed it, more action sequencing, and this time it fragments into 3 different action sequences. So it's a lot of action. There's a lot of fighting in the movie, and it's really well done. I thought it was really good. I thought a lot of the choreography was really on point, which is something that you can kind of expect from Black Clover. Usually in like a lot of shows for stuff like that, like you never really know what you're going to be getting into if it's just going to have like characters that are sort of thrashing about, and you have to use your animation to understand like, oh, they're fighting and hitting each other. But in this one, especially for a story that features magical elements and they're using like magic attacks, the level of detail that they put into like the sword fighting that Asta does, I thought was like pretty awesome, especially when you have another character that ends up also taking a sword and fighting against him with a sword. So that was a really nice touch. And then, like, beyond the choreography, the Sakuga is just, like, beautiful. Like, I can't tell you how much I love, like, beautiful Sakuga animation. That was really welcome. For how long the movie is, it's around, like, a 2-hour movie. The animation quality never really dips. And then they have, like, those really good sequences where I don't really know the technical terms for it, but when they do, like, a reverse color scheme where it's, like, using like empty space as white with like black outlines, and how that looks I think is like really fantastic, and I'll put like a footage of that and how that looks on screen too. So yeah, pretty much like when it comes to the action of the movie, it was pretty much full throttle all the way through. It never really dipped. Beyond that, I wanted to talk about the music. So I thought the music was really well done. The score that they used, I'm a huge sucker for orchestral soundtracks, and this did not disappoint. Had really good orchestral arrangement. I thought that it was fitting for each scene, added to the tone. It was a good accompaniment to certain transitions in the movie, and was used to sort of enhance whatever was happening on screen. I thought that was like really well done, you know. And then we also had, they reprised the first intro, which is something that I always love when they do something like that. So that song was, I believe it's called Haruka Mirai by Kankaku Piero. So hearing that was such a pleasant surprise. I love that song. You know, I don't think that Black Clover's intros miss. Like, I feel like they all hit like really good. So hearing that was really awesome. And then this is such a nice little detail and Easter egg. I love stuff like this too. So Kankaku Piero did the first intro to Black Clover, and they also have a new single that was releasing the day after the movie, which played in the movie, and that's called Break Together. And that's a really good song. So I was glad to hear that, and hear that it's a new single that's releasing the day after. So that's going instantly onto my set list, and I'm planning on doing a cover of that one. So just a little bit of a plug here, but I have like a drum cover channel that I do called Nihon Dis, where I drum to anime songs. So if you're interested in that, maybe go check it out. I've been really working hard on it and trying to like get better at understanding how to cover songs. I don't think I'm the best, but I have fun with it, even though it may look like I'm just sitting down covering a song. But but it's enjoyable for me. So if you wanted to check it out, then go check it out. Moving on, I wanted to talk about the characters, and this is an element in the movie that I kind of have mixed feelings about. And I have mixed feelings on multiple different facets, so it's not just like a one thing that I had an issue with. So first of all, the good is that we have a lot of our favorite characters in there. All the Black Bulls are in there, we get to see a lot of the captains, and everyone's kind of doing cool stuff. Part of the issue that I had, though, was while everyone's in there, and the movie is already very long, it's a 2-hour movie, but having that many characters involved, no one really gets to shine very well. A lot of the times the character will do something and then it kind of like moves on to the next character and to the next scene, and they don't really get to show their stuff a whole lot because they're trying to balance like everyone out and let everyone get like a second to do something. In particular, I know there was a moment when, I'm forgetting his name, but the Mantis guy, Charlotte and William Vangeance, all enter the fray and they go into a fight scene. And they just sort of like enter the fight scene and then you just don't see them again for the rest of the movie. They're just gone. That was it. They had their moment, they said their dialogue, and then it was peace out. So who knows what really happened with them. Though it's not like anyone, it's also not like everyone didn't get a chance to shine. There were certain characters that of course got a chance to shine. Like he had a very pivotal moment. Of course Asta is going to be like the main star. Mario Leona, our fan favorite, best girl, battle junkie, feral beast. She definitely got some time to shine. I remember I saw some comments on some forums where people were actually complaining that she got a fight all to herself with one of the Wizard Kings, but I thought that was totally appropriate. It makes sense for her character. It was fitting, and it was a very fun fight, so that was really cool. So some other stuff about the characters that I kind of thought was a little rough was the dialogue. The movie mainly focuses on action. There's like so much action sequencing, and it's all really well done. And the dialogue, I don't think it's bad. It just falls into this trap where every time a character says something, it has to be clever. So anytime someone has a piece of dialogue, which everyone has to have dialogue, it always feels like a punchline. And it's like you don't always have to have someone saying something that has to be clever, because a lot of times their characters are saying stuff that doesn't even seem fitting for their character. It just seems like it falls in line with their theme. I'm pretty sure there was one point in the movie where William Vangeance says something along the lines of, "Oh, 2's no good, but 3's a better number," and then enters the fight, and I'm like, that was kind of lame. I don't know. Maybe people disagree, but I thought that was lame. And there's some other parts of the movie that also kind of had that same sort of tone with the dialogue. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think that was the main part of the movie, so it was just an element about it that I wasn't really the biggest fan of.
Yeah, but there's only 2 of them.
2 don't stand a chance. 3 is a better number.
So moving on from that, I also wanted to talk about the antagonists of the movie. So we have the 3 Wizard Kings, and then our main bad dude, Conrad. So I liked them. I thought they were all really cool. I thought they had cool designs. I liked their personalities. The problem that I really had was how stereotypically evil they were. And I'm like, these are the previous Wizard Kings of the Clover Kingdom, and they're all like really bad dudes. They all just kind of suck, right? Conrad, I think, might actually make sense. It seems sensible that he was the Wizard King, and he started they don't really fully explain it to you, but it seems like there was some kind of like trigger event that sort of deviated his mindset and sort of like walked him down the path that he was going towards, and he became deluded. He's a very powerful Wizard King, so it makes sense that he would be misguided and think that he's doing the right thing and have this absolute conviction that he's helping people, but in like the worst way possible. And then, on top of that, when he starts having opposition to his ideologies, it just becomes like fan to the flames, you know what I mean? Like gas in the fire. So it ends up just making things worse, escalating the intensity that he has for these ideals, and just makes him push even further. So that sounds appropriate to me. But with the other 3, And I don't know the timeline of the story on how long they've been dead before he revived them, but I had a hard time believing that they would just so easily fall in line with his thought processes. Because he wanted to kill everyone, and they get revived, and immediately it's like, oh yeah, let's purge the kingdom and kill everyone. I'm like, doesn't anyone have a reason to question him on that? Like, what are your motivations that you get revived and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, let's just like murder everyone? It's not only like they just went along with it, but they actually seemed like pretty eager to do it too. And like, I don't know, I thought that was a bit strange. I don't really think it took away from the movie because I thought they were all really cool. And like I said before, it's like the main point of the movie was a lot of these action sequencing. The plot didn't really seem like it had to make a whole lot of sense because it was still entertaining and still had this like steady flow of escalation, and towards the end when it had this like peak moment of conflict that resolved itself. So it's alright, it's definitely forgivable, and I think it's like still an excellent movie, but that part of it I thought was just a little bit odd. Aside from that, I wanted to dig a little bit into a little bit of analysis mode, you know? So I thought that the parallels between Conrad and Asta were really well executed. And it's hard to know whether or not it was intentional or whether or not it could just be like an aesthetic charm. But for one, it's like they have the same catchphrase, and it's like this whole thing where Conrad knows that, but Asta doesn't, and Conrad's like, oh, we're like the same person, and then Asta's like, no, we're not. And then they're fighting it out, and whoever's ideals win, or the person who's like the victor, you know what I mean? And that's like a whole other thing where the movie sort of delves a little bit into philosophy of like right and wrong don't exist here, and then they talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's like whoever's winning is the person whose ideals get carried through, and like that's kind of cool. Aside from that, I thought that the parallel between Asta's powers and Conrad's powers were very interesting too, because heavy spoiler is that like towards the end of the movie, when Conrad's using multiple magical affinities, his hair turns white, which again, that could just be like an aesthetic charm, but it felt kind of like poetic to me, because but then Asta, when he's using his anti-magic abilities and using like the devil form and stuff like that, his hair turns black, and it's this fun dichotomy and contrast between them both, because Conrad has these like very dangerous ideals, but he's using like so much magical power, and the color white is usually associated with like holiness and stuff like that, and versus Asta, which is like anti-magic, devil powers, like that's usually associated with like evil and like having the black sort of figures around him and stuff like that, like the devil wing. But he's on this like path of righteousness, so it's like this really cool divide between them. So again, I don't know if that was like totally intentional, but it felt very poetic to me, and I thought that was pretty cool. So with all that out of the way, overall I was very surprised by the movie. I thought it was very well done, very well executed. Sure, there were some parts about it that maybe I wasn't like totally gung-ho about. I thought a little bit of odd choices and stuff like that, but hey, who am I? I'm not the one who made the movie. I'm just observing and reporting. I was very impressed. I thought it was very fun, very good movie. It focused a lot on the action elements, so when it came to those, on point, didn't disappoint. Something that I was kind of hoping for was that at the end, maybe the credits would roll, and then it would open up a scene that sort of hypes up the next season, or give you some kind of teaser, or something like that, like anything. But we did have an end credit scene, but it didn't really do anything to discuss about what's upcoming next for the next installation, which is fine and all. You know, it's not like they had to do that, but it would have been neat. Overall, still an excellent watch for any Black Clover fan. Whether you're into the season or not. I think this is an anime exclusive movie if you haven't seen it, but I don't think that means that it's not canon. I think this actually was written by Tabata, or maybe he had some kind of say in the writing of it. So I think that when it comes to the actual like universe of Black Clover, like these are the actual Wizard Kings. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. There's a chance that I could be wrong because I didn't actually like look it up. I'm just basing off things that I've heard and seen and going on memory, but I'm pretty sure it's actual canon stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, that's basically it. Those are my thoughts on the movie. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did and you would like to subscribe, I'm going to try to do like more commentary stuff. I want to get like better at this. I want to like sort of voice my thoughts on things as I'm watching, because I just think it's fun to sort of look back on and see where I was, and hopefully these will get better as I keep doing it and I get more comfortable talking to camera, because this is not comfortable for me. But if you enjoyed it, subscribe, like, comment. If you're interested in drum covers, go over to my drum cover channel, where I definitely have a lot of fun doing that as well. Yeah, join the pack. Bye-bye. See ya.